Are you worried about what will happen in November? There is a one-of-a-kind elections that we're seeing. President Joe Biden was in the running, and then halfway through, Kamala Harris comes in, and now polls say what they say about the advantage to Kamala Harris. Are you worried about the Republican campaign being on the defensive?
Look, I think that we're going to be at our best if we offer our own vision of what we stand for. I think it's insufficient to just criticize the other side. You got to do some of that in politics, right? There's room for that. But that's insufficient to win. I think we can't just say this is what the left offers and we're against it. We have to go further, do more than that, and say this is what we actually stand for. This is what it means to be a Republican. This is what it means to be an American. I think people are hungry for that. And if we identify what our own values are, as I said, individual, family, nation, God, merit, free speech, the rule of law, and self-governance. If we say this is not what we're running from, but this is what we're running to, I think we will win this election handily. But I do think that we have a competitive race all the way through November. I'm not a soothsayer. I can't tell you, I'm not going to offer you a definitive prediction of what's going to happen. But I do believe the next 45 days are going to be pretty important for the future of the country.
So you think there is a gap in the narrative of the Republicans?
I think there's always room for, there's many gaps on the Democratic side, but I'm always a believer, even in my own life, in looking myself in the mirror and not resting on my laurels, but asking, how can we be better? How can we aspire to even greater? There's the saying here, it's obviously very popular, and I'm enthusiastic supporter of making America great again. But I don't just want to make America great again. I want to make America greater than it has ever been. And I think that's what this country has been founded on, is this idea of the pursuit of excellence, right? We're not perfect. We've never been. As a country, as a party, it doesn't matter. We're human beings. We're fallen human beings after all. But we aspire towards perfection, to a more perfect union. And I think that character of ambition to pursue how we can be better is what defines this country. And I think that's something that it's a message I think people are really hungry for as well.
So we're looking, we are living in times where there are two major wars that are happening across the world. On the one side is Russia, Ukraine. On the other, of course, what's going on in Gaza between the Palestinians and the Israelis. What do you think is the solution to this? There have been attempts made on both sides, especially in the Russia-Ukraine war. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in New York just yesterday, a meeting with Zelensky, his third meeting with him. Do you think there is a breakthrough that can happen, and what's really the route for that?
So look, I believe that this war in Russia and Ukraine needs to come to an end and be resolved as soon as possible, end the bloodshed. I think that's actually in the self-interest of everybody involved. I think it's in the self-interest of Ukraine. I think it's in Russia's self-interest. And I think it's in the self-interest of the West either. Now, that doesn't mean that Putin just gets to have whatever he wants. I think we have to have a reasonable deal that achieves certain important objectives. I think one of the great threats from the West's perspective, and I think even from an Indian perspective, is the rise of the Russia-China alliance. I think that in ironic ways, this war has actually pushed Russia further into China's hands. So one of the things I'd like to see the West accomplish, including NATO and the United States, through this negotiation, I hope we get to that negotiation, is that as a condition for a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict, we require Russia to weaken or even end its military alliance with China. I think that leaves us stronger, and this has been done before, by the way. Last time around, it was during the Cold War, when the U.S. and Nixon led China to come out of Russia's hands. Back then it was Mao-led China out of the hands of the USSR, led by Brezhnev. That actually brought us to the near end of the Cold War. So I think today the world will be more stable. I think the United States would be better off. And I think there are strong arguments even for Russia to make the case that they would be better off, not being Xi Jinping's little brother in that relationship, but moving to a more trilateral relationship between the U.S., Russia, and China, rather than what's increasingly becoming a bilateral one.
But why would Russia do that with all the arms supply from the United States, from the NATO countries?
I think we need to rethink our relationship with Russia in big ways. I think that it should be on the table to reopen economic relations with Russia. That could be a big advantage for Russia, but they don't get that for free. I think that's got to come with completely abandoning joint military exercises with China. I'd like to see Russia exit its military presence in the Western Hemisphere, places like Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba. So I think that there's an opportunity for not a small deal, but a big deal really resetting the alliances between Russia and China. I think we got to dissolve and weaken that diplomatically. And I think that we can strengthen much of the economic ties again between the West and Russia as a condition for Russia also really, I think, occupying a different geopolitical role than it has. And I think the Ukraine war provides a catalyst, or the end of the Ukraine war, I should say, provides a catalyst to bring us to hopefully not only peace there, but a more stable world.